It is what? 203, 204, and now we'll start the Bridgewater Tree Committee meeting for Tuesday, February 11th. There's no public comment, so although you are the public, Steve, you can say something if you want, but we'll get to you.
Okay.
We need to first approve the minutes of January 14th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion made. Is there a second to the motion? Pat, you looked at the,
I haven't read the minutes, but I can second the motion.
okay. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. We're gonna have to move the, juggle the agenda a little bit. First thing I have in terms of old business are the Tree City signs. Now, if you remember, we ordered the signs a while back, and then to be perfectly honest, I forgot about it. They were ordered through Josh. I'm not sure you actually ordered it or Paul did, but they were ordered and they are in. They're very large signs. They're big signs. Paul has them. I believe we were at six or seven. I think it was 6. And I was hoping that Paul would be on to see whether they're going up or have gone up yet. So they will be up. And I'm pleased. We should see them pretty soon. Okay. Good. Yeah. Okay. Things have changed since we've last met and since I did the agenda. So let me just go over some things quickly. I told you before, and I sent you the PowerPoint of the presentation for the council. I went to the council meeting a week ago, and they had the council starts at 7 o'clock. They scheduled to start at 7:30 because they're meeting with the school committee at 6 because of the budget. And when I got there a little bit after 7, the room was packed. It was hot, stuffy. Nothing was going on. You were there, Shirley, and I just said it's not going to work. So I begged off. They didn't, which I, with hindsight, was a smart thing to do, I think, because the meeting didn't end until 10:30 in that area. So I'm scheduled for next Tuesday, same presentation. So just make you aware of it. And all I'm going to do is simply give an update regarding. I sent the presentation to you, but just an update of where we are, and also make a plea for more support from the town for the tree committee, and in particular in terms of money and positions. And I know that money is tight, but it's always a problem for cities and towns. So anyway, any comment at all? All right. I also met with the planning board on Wednesday. And the issue, I did so because the interim town manager asked me whether I had talked to the planning board regarding the tree mitigation schedule that we had proposed to the town. And I had not. So I did meet with them on last Wednesday. And long story short, the chair, Pat Driscoll, suggested that the planning board look over the tree mitigation schedule, and they will discuss it at their next meeting. So I don't know what they'll say. I think that I sensed a little bit of pushback regarding the individual tree cutting. In other words, measuring trees and so forth, but we'll see. So that's that. Okay, let's go to the arborist position. If you remember, just a quick background. The way the tree committee is set up, Michael Dutton set it up, one of the voting members of the tree committee will be an arborist, a certified arborist, or somebody with the qualifications. We did not find somebody in town 2 years ago. And we did find a gentleman from the college who does not live in town. He's not a certified arborist, but he's obviously qualified. And what happened there was Michael at some point did agree to try to change the town code, which we did put in. And after a few months of no pushback from anybody in town, I believe it was approved last Tuesday. And there's a 30-day delay of going into effect. At the same time, by pure chance, at the BIA meeting, whenever it was last week, I heard Steve Dempsey's name mentioned as a certified arborist and living in town. And I perked up, and so we have Steve Dempsey here. I put him on because I think as much as the gentleman from the college, I think is very good. The way the town code is set up with the change, if we have a person in town, then obviously that person is the way we're going to go. So I thought you should at least meet Steve. And I thought, Steve, if you could just go over your background, how you're involved in, your work background, also you're involved in the trees. Maybe if people have any questions, just answer them, okay? Steve, why don't you just give us an idea of your background?
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Ray. And Ray dug deep and bought me a cup of coffee and a muffin at the coffee shop too. It was a very good productive meeting. So my background is I went to school I went up to the University of Massachusetts and got a Bachelor of Science degree in forestry. That was back in 1977. I graduated from there. And throughout the college years, I worked for the United States Forest Service up in the White Mountains in New Hampshire on the Appalachian Trail Crew. It was a temporary. It was not temporary. It was what do they call it? Seasonal employment. I did that for about 7 years seasonally, and they just weren't hiring full time back then. So I moved on to a position opened at Bristol County Agricultural High School in the arboriculture department. So I took that position as an instructor, and that was back in 1983. And so my background in forestry, I was teaching arboriculture, plant science, botany, soil science. So during that time, I continued to take the CEUs to complete, and I actually enrolled in a master's degree program, and I got my master's degree in educational administration. So, and I became a certified arborist during that position. I was certified with the International Society of Arboriculture and the Mass Arborist Association. And that was around 1984, 83 or 84. And of course, during the time as a school teacher, I also started my own business. So I was doing an arboriculture and landscape consulting firm. And I started a tree division for a landscape company in Taunton called Greenscape during that time as well. So I carried on with my studies, and so I maintained my certification, and Ray and I were talking about the certification piece of it. And then when I got into administration, after 24 years in the classroom, I was department head for the arboriculture department for about 20 years. And then a position opened up in administration, so I switched over and became vice principal, and then the principal's job, and then ultimately I retired as superintendent of the school. So yeah, that's about where we are. I hit my company was called Woodland Designs. It was just a little consulting company, and I actually did tree work. I was going to say most teachers do part-time work because the pay isn't that great. So and that's where I am. And then I get a little bit involved with the town and working with Shirley a little bit on some of the projects with the BIA. Like I said, the little park and have kids along the way that were the school system. So we got involved with building the playground down by the soccer fields. That was way back when. And my wife's family's been in town for 6 generations, I think. So, and we live here on Comfort Street. That's about it.
I'll start out, Steve. What do you go through to become a certified arborist? What's the process?
So after we spoke, Ray, you brought it up, and it was like I was curious about it too, because while you have the Mass Arborist Association has a process that you have to have experience or education, of course, in arboriculture and tree work, and then there's a testing procedure that takes place, and it's at least a day long. I think they even switched over to a 2-day process. I don't know if they're doing that now or not, but so it's a pretty extensive process to become certified. And then when you're certified, so when we first started the certification process, it was like once you were certified for life. That was way back in the day. And then they changed the process into continuing with doing like 30 CEUs in 3 years to maintain your certification. So as I was doing my CEUs to continue with my education certification, they were always in the field of forestry and arboriculture as well. So that qualified me to maintain my certification in addition to my business. So I was always experienced in actually teaching classes and the thing. So that was it. So then when I got into administration, and this is where we were the other day, Ray. So I didn't continue with the recertification process because now I've moved from the classroom into administration. My understanding was that you just maintained your certification because it was grandfathered for so long. But after speaking with Ray, I went back and searched the Mass Arborist Association and the ISA. There's a process they have for retired arborists to maintain their certified arborist certification. And I have emailed them, but have not heard back from them about how that works. So you have to have been an arborist for 30 years. The only glitch that I have with the thing is they mentioned something about being I haven't stayed a member of Mass Arborist Association along with my certification for that entire period. Because when I got into administration, I just, I wasn't going to continue with tree work at that point, I didn't think. So there's no need to continue. If I wanted to start from scratch right now and do the recertification process as a normal person would do it, who was going to be involved in the field full time, it's a little more lengthy. You have to, at the $275 to join the, and to take the test, and then you got to go to, I don't even know where they actually give the test right now. It was back in Waltham, the Waltham Experimental Station back then, but that's what it is. You have to study, you have to go apply for the test, sit for the test. It's a day-long test. And then when you're certified, you're certified.
On that point, I just to clarify, the position on the tree committee is written so that there will be a person that is a certified arborist or somebody with the qualifications of being certified. So the requirement that we have is simply somebody who is an expert on trees. So what I'm saying is certification is not a end all. That's all. Questions from Pat or Shirley? You?
No, I think without a question, Steve qualifies for the position that we're looking for. And the catch-all is that he has the experience and the past experiences to maintain that position, even though he might have dropped his certification. So I would have no problem that he qualifies under the current regulations that we have.
I agree, if he's willing.
Mhm.
I mean, if the process is simply that I have to, have a validation or whatever to go with the retired. If you have the retired certified arborist designation, you're in fact you maintained your certification, and they don't require you to do the TEUs all the time constantly. So it's more appropriate for someone like me. I wouldn't be too interested in going doing the testing and doing all that stuff again, and spending the money to join because of didn't.
Right.
Well, I mean, just again, the clarification, I think if you are on the committee and you need to do education work and it costs money, I would assume that in some form that we could use our funds to do certification.
Good thought.
Yeah, I mean, I just I remember when
That's not the biggest thing, right? It's just that, I'm not gonna be a full-time arborist anymore, so.
right, and I'm not sure we need somebody that's, that's
No, no.
that qualified. I mean, somebody more qualified than us is
That's for sure.
Shirley knows her trees better than just about us, maybe Malcolm too, but
Well, I've done a lot of pruning and a lot of planting and a lot of tree selections and consulting work and disease control and all that stuff. I had pesticide certification too and fund, which I also didn't maintain. The recertification process and the maintaining the certifications it's a good idea and it's a good deal. It also makes money for the organizations, which is important too. So,
no, I understand the need at some point for the recertification, depending on, what the requirements are for what you're doing. I mean, when I was in financial planning, the company I worked for did pay for my my certification and extra credits too. So that's why I brought up the fact that I would hope if it's needed that you be recertified, some process that we can do that. I don't know. Anyway, Shirley, Pat, any?
I just wanted to clarify one other point. In the capacity of an arborist or a tree warden, rather, for the town of Bridgewater, your job mainly would be to pass judgment, if you will, on the viability of trees and whether they should be removed or attended to in some way in terms of trimming and things of that sort. The town highway department, we used to have a highway and forestry department, but that got cut back in the days when they did a chopping block thing on all towns and cut back on many, many, many employees in the town of Bridgewater as they did in others. So we now have a town highway department without a forestry department component, but our town highway department has been and will continue, I'm quite sure, to be very helpful in the actual manpower involved if it comes to removing trees and things of that sort. The one hang up we're trying to address is the fact that we don't have a cherry picker. And so it's been a question of how to do that. Sometimes we get the help of National Grid, sometimes with the help of other towns nearby. But that's something that we have to take into consideration. And Paul Costa, our head of highway, is very much aware of that and is working on getting a cherry picker. The problem being that this is going to be a tight year budget-wise, and we are, I think, lucky enough to be able to have the volunteer services of somebody like you, Steve, but I don't see that we're going to get a cherry picker this year.
Yeah, there's an option for that surely too. I mean, you can actually rent them now. But in the day when I was there, I also had to have a certification as a hoister. You went through OSHA training and stuff like that. So, I mean, I ran a bucket truck I had a bucket truck at the school and taught the kids how to use it and actually got a new one for them. We have contacts in the world of trees too, over the years, of course. Many of my students are still, my prior students have pretty sizable companies now and have been pretty successful with staying in the business. So, yeah, I mean, there's one way to get the job done, one way or the other. I don't climb anymore very much. I used to climb a lot. I'm kind of once in a while. My wife gets really mad at me when I do it, but
Well, okay.
Just to, one point on that.
Come on.
I think the idea of a cherry picker is simply not gonna happen this year. And I think what Paul has been doing is he's spending money by hiring firms to do the cutting. Obviously National Grid cuts on its own, but at some point, I think there may be a crossover that it's cheaper to have our own cherry picker and do cutting and trimming ourselves instead of hiring outside firms. But I think that's a ways in the future. Regarding the tree warden, Steve, if you're on this committee, I see no official position for you to have to do any of that. There is the interim town manager right now is talking about bringing on a on-call tree warden. In other words, somebody who would be hired by the town but would not be a full-time employee. That would simply be called if there was need for advice regarding trees. So your position on this committee would not be a tree warden type position. I mean, you may be asked for advice, but I just want to clarify that there is, I think the least thing we can get this year is this on-call tree warden position. I treat the interim town manager seemed to be moving that direction. And she seems to be seems to get things done. So I have some hope that that will happen. All right, any other, Pat, anything?
No, everything sounds good. I mean, it's very promising to have Steve on our committee.
You're all being very nice to him. Actually ask him some direct, tough questions like.
so
I
I mean,
okay,
the responsibility would be pretty much advisory at this point, right?
pardon me?
I say the responsibility of the tree committee is advisory pretty much at this point.
Yes, yes.
Like,
Yes, we're not even there yet. I mean, we're sort of a separate committee that is still feeling its way in terms of where we're going. At some point, we'll take over the town. No. No. All right, okay, no more questions? All right, then what I thought what we do is just quickly go through the rest of the agenda, and then Steve, maybe you could sign off and we
Yeah.
could have our own discussion about how to proceed, okay? Is that fair enough? All right, we have a forum scheduled for August 1st,
April.
April 1st, what did I say, August? Whatever, April 1st, at the library,
Yeah.
6:30 at night. I think we decided that it would be simply a forum on how to plant trees. It'll help people pick the right trees and how to plant trees. And also the rules regarding street trees and so forth. So people would be advised of that. I think it's a simple thing to do, and I assume that you all still in agreement in doing that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And Steve, if you're on board, maybe you could help in terms of speaking. Okay.
sure.
All right. We're meeting okay, we're meeting at this time. I think this is probably because of Nicole. And she's not on right now, so I assume we will keep this time slot as our meetings, and it'll be a Zoom meeting until further notice, okay? All right, well, I mentioned goals before. Do any of you feel there are specific things we should be pushing for? I mean, I think my feeling is that if we get the on-call tree warden, that's pretty important, and also maybe even a budget in the next, do any of you want any specific things pushed? Anybody? Well, let me put it this way, not necessarily get the town to do something, but as a committee, should we be working on something that we're not? Shirley?
I've said this before, and I'll continue, that I think we need an educational forum in terms of where and how and what to plant. There are a lot of people in town who just think that you go down to Home Depot, grab a ball of some kind of a tree and dig a hole and throw it in and then pile the dirt around it and so on, and forget about it. And we need to educate people that that's not exactly all that's involved in planting trees. And we need to give them some guidance in terms of what kind of trees to plant. People are planting things that are just inappropriate for street tree or lawn tree for whatever. So I would certainly encourage that we consider another forum in the very near future and deal with educating the public. And we look at ways that we can reach out to the public other than those who attend a forum. I'd like to see us put together a pamphlet or a working sheet that we can somehow send through the mail to everybody regarding trees, the value of trees, and how to plant them. That's something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I think it's time we started moving in that direction.
Well, didn't Bill Maltby have a resource with the, tree wardens pamphlets that we had already talked about at previous meetings?
Well, wait a minute. First of all, Shirley, the forum on April 1st will be on how to plant trees. That is the
Right.
forum.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I'm
That-
sorry, I didn't understand what was the
that-
agenda there.
That is the forum, simply
Okay,
on
good.
what
Thank
trees to
you.
plant and what. Regarding getting the word out, it's been an issue, and Shirley and I have talked about that too. The interim town manager has offered, there is a PR firm. I never realized that the town has on call. And I have been in contact with the gentleman, and so they can put information out, I don't know, on Facebook or something, whatever, if we want, and all we have to do is decide what we want and how we can at least contact the guy and do it, so that's out there. Shirley's point about putting something in the mail, I think is obviously the best way to do it. I would be wholeheartedly agreeing with that. How are we gonna do that? I don't know. That's a whole nother thing that's gonna cost quite a bit of money, I assume, doing that, but that's a possibility, I suppose. If we get the envelopes and we start stuffing envelopes, I suppose that's a possibility if we still have some money on. If you guys want to go in that direction, I think it's worth looking at it.
Yeah, the expense is probably mostly postage. I don't know. I think the brochures that Bill Maltby was talking about were pretty reasonable, if not free. I don't know.
I have them from the forum. I don't know, 100 or 150 of them or so.
Were
They're
those
right here.
the ones Bill was talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
well, I'm wondering if this would be a time when we might, have we got a committee that's working on the forum, the April 1st
Nope, I was
forum?
gonna bring that up. It's the Arbor Day Foundation tree planting guide, which
Oh,
we had
okay.
at last year's forum.
Mhm.
Okay, and I have a bunch of those, and I'm sure we can get more of them.
Mhm.
If one of you want to look into, maybe through Josh, maybe we can find out how many, if we did do a mailing, how many households there are in Bridgewater, and maybe get an idea of roughly what the cost would be. Do it. May be feasible. That may be a good
Ray,
idea.
I can actually I believe there was, and I can't off the top of my head, a year or so ago, a committee that wanted to drop inserts in the tax bill that was going out.
That was us.
Oh yeah, Yeah, there was, I think it was like $3,000 to $4,000 just to
No,
include
they
it.
just said no.
I thought we were rejected.
We were rejected.
Then it was another committee that wanted to
Okay.
do something similar. So that's about the cost of it would be like, I think it was between like $3,000 and $4,000.
That's workable in my mind. What we can, maybe Shirley, maybe you could, Pat and Shirley, maybe you want to just talk about it and.
Yeah, I think the cost is the postage essentially.
Mhm. There's another possibility. The senior center puts out a newsletter every once a month. I'm wondering if we can't piggyback on their mailing and include something in a newsletter that they sent out. I don't know how extensive it would be able to be, because obviously they're getting their news out, and we don't want to take their time and space. However, there may be other organizations like that, other groups like that, that are sending things out through the mails that we might look into and see if we can piggyback on.
Shirley, maybe you could, maybe Pat, if you want to help, I don't know, just look into that. Maybe we can, at the next meeting, we could decide on how to do this. Maybe we can make a decision at our March meeting to actually do a mailing, whether it be, as you said, Shirley, piggybacking on somebody or else simply doing it on our own. Look at the
Mhm.
cost and the feasibility.
And what are you thinking of actually mailing that brochure?
That's another thing. You could check and see whether there's anything better than this. This we have, at least not enough, of course, but it's pretty straightforward. How to plant your tree.
How many do you have, Ray?
I don't know, maybe less than 100, but probably 70 or 80, maybe. I don't know, maybe not that many. But I mean, it has the basic stuff, how to plant, how to
Right,
transplant.
right.
And
And I
does
can,
Bill have more?
I'm sorry.
Does
Josh,
Bill Maltby have more?
I don't know where I to be perfectly honest with you, I don't remember how we got these.
Okay.
And
Oh,
if
man,
if it's helpful to the committee, Ray, if when Pat and Shirley are working on this, if you guys get some mock-up of what you want to mail out, I can always see what Bridgewater Print would charge to get, to do like a double-sided
Okay,
kind of foldable like we had for the brochures.
okay, it's good.
National Arbor Day does a pretty good job of putting those together too, and it may, like you said, Ray, they may not even cost anything. They may just distribute them.
Right, that's the one that he has, which is
Yeah.
excellent.
All right.
Aren't there like 8,000 homes in Bridgewater, Josh?
Yeah, something like that. I don't
Mm.
know the specific number, but I think that's about what
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah,
That includes apartments or no?
I don't know.
Well, that, we wouldn't want apartments anyway, would we?
No, they can't plant.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's like King.
All right, very good. So, if you want my help also, Shirley, Pat, you can call me, but why don't we make that a major point in the next meeting to decide on how we're gonna mail? And whether it be with another group or just do our own mailing, okay? Fair enough?
I'll send Bill a note and ask him about his
Okay.
brochures.
Great, good.
Okay, thank
Steve,
you.
would
All
you
right.
like to join us on this committee?
Pardon me?
I'm wondering if Steve might be interested, were he considering to join our group, whether he'd consider being on this committee.
You're not officially a tree committee member yet.
Well, I'm just feeling him out in case he decides that he will be officially a member
No.
and so on.
You'll be called on to do a lot of things probably. Now, what's gonna have to happen seriously is that we have to make a recommendation to the interim town manager. And she eventually has to make a recommendation to the council. So I expect the process will probably take a month, I don't know, to do this. Sound right, Josh?
As a member or just as a
As a
general
member.
member?
Yeah, I mean, it still has to go to the council, doesn't it?
So he would want to apply through our website. And then it
Right.
gets referred to the Citizens Advisory Committee.
Oh, okay, so. Oh, so.
Yep.
Okay, and there is that committee that interviews.
Yep, the Citizen Advisory Committee.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay,
But we can Steve, have you been to our website for the committees?
No.
If
I have. Yeah. I mean, just for certain things. Yeah.
Okay. So on the just like the front page of the boards, committees and commissions, you'll find a link towards the bottom where it says apply for a vacancy. And then you just go through that.
Okay. So Steve, you hear that?
Yeah, I did, yeah. So, apply for but there's not actually a vacancy at this point, right?
Yes, there is.
There is,
a
yep.
vacancy.
What's the title of the vacancy? Is it tree committee member? Is it town part-time tree? what is-
Probably
I'm not sure how it's stated that we have a vacancy on the tree committee, and the
Okay.
slot that is vacant is the arborist position.
Okay,
So you can apply for the arborist position on the tree committee.
okay,
Okay?
okay.
Well,
Okay,
okay, that was simpler than I thought. Um, if you have any issue in doing that, Steve, let me know, will you? Okay,
yeah, I will, I got your number and, I think
okay,
that I have your number still, so I do.
all right. Whoa,
You want me to disappear so you guys can go into?
no,
executive session?
you're gonna apply your own yourself, so it doesn't, we don't count that. No, we're okay. All right, just quickly, last two things. I met with the BIA, the regular BIA, and that's how I got your name, Steve. The Hanson Farm, is there something been done with Hanson Farm? Does anybody know? Anybody? Josh, you aware of anything happening?
Yeah, I can share some details. So the application for the Hanson Farm conservation restriction was submitted today to the CPC.
So what does that mean?
So for the purchase of the property.
Okay,
So
just go
the
through.
yep, sorry, what was
No,
that?
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
So the process is to get matching funds for the purchase. So we were approved for the grant through the state, the MVP grant, and we just had to go to the CPC for the match. So that application was submitted, and I believe that'll be discussed at their February 26th meeting.
And
Josh,
what
what's
does
the
that mean in the
application?
long run?
Sorry, what was that?
What does that mean in the long run? The town will own the land or what?
Yeah, there'll be a conservation restriction on the land.
It's being put in
They're not selling the farm. They're just adding conservation restriction.
it's being put into a protective trust, I think.
Yeah, so they've set aside I believe it's 78 acres or something along those lines. And for the conservation restriction, I believe they're still going to be farming most of it, the majority of it, but it will be opened up to trails eventually.
Eventually, right?
Is the 78 acres the entire farm or is it?
I don't think it's the entire farm. It's just a large parcel of it.
So
So-
if I understand this correctly, what it does not allow for developers to come in and build houses on that property. It's
Correct.
included in the restriction.
Correct.
And is there anything else beside houses that cannot be, the land cannot be used for?
I'm sure that's detailed in the restriction itself. I think that was the big one though, is to not allow developers access to the land.
Mhm.
So
Is there any way we can get a copy of what is included in that restriction?
Once it's made public, yes. Right now it's like I said, it's gone to the CPC and I think it'll go to the Conservation Commission and then it gets sent over to the town council, which would be made public.
Okay.
Can
Very
you
good.
track that for us, Josh?
Yeah,
That-
sure. I mean, I think the intention is to get that on town council as early as March, the first week, so it should be available then.
Well, if you could track it and send us whatever is available once it's approved,
Sure.
that would be helpful. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Very good. Any other comments, questions? I'll take a motion to adjourn. Steve, we thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's great to meet you folks. I'm glad we're got a group of active citizens, and I'm gonna say, Shirley, I don't know if that seat that you bought was appropriate for you, because I don't remember you sitting down a lot when you were on these committees. Were you being up and about? So thank you very much for your time too.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second,
Motion's made and seconded. By the way, thank you, Josh, for all your input. So,
Thank you.
No problem.
all in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye.
aye.
Okay,
Aye.
folks.
Thank you. See ya.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good afternoon.